One of the trickiest moments in writing is the first time you have to show what you've done to somebody else. It's the moment when everything stops being private. The moment when you discover whether or not you've gone mad and whether what you've been working on so hard is just a load of rubbish. So, after 2.5 years of getting up an hour earlier every day to work on the novel, I finally finished the second draft of Monkey Wars. Now is the time to find the first reader, but who to ask? You need someone who's patient, but brutally honest. My wife would be too diplomatic. Friends would be too polite, but I had a secret weapon at home, my 12-year-old son, Hugo. Because kids are such terrible liars, they make great critics. Ever since Hugo was 6 months old, I've read bedtime stories to him. So I decided to read this to him. The manuscript, 1 chapter a night as a bedtime story, to see if it was any good. So armed with this, and this, we set to work. It was a really instructive process. If my son had just read the book to himself, and I'd then asked him about it, it would have been hard to get beyond, "Yeah, I enjoyed it." But this way, reading it out to him, I got immediate feedback, page by page, line by line. When he started to fidget, I knew I had to trim. If we got to the end of a chapter and he said, "What happens next?" I knew I got the cliffhanger right. If he got confused, I knew I had to clarify things. But above all, Hugo was a great self-indulgent detector. There was one chapter in the book where a snake eats a monkey. And I'm very frightened of snakes, so the idea of being eaten live by a snake was a horrific thing for me. I researched it and looked on YouTube to find out what it was like to get eaten by a snake. I wrote this 6-page sequence, which I was really proud of. But when I was reading it out to him, Hugo went, at the end of page 2, he went, "Yeah, I get it, okay." And I said, No, there's another 4 pages, you've got to listen to it. He said, "I get it, snake eats monkey, this is not a natural history program." So I just crossed out 4 pages, and he was right, I didn't need it. At the end of that, I'd cut 25,000 words out, and I didn't miss a single one. And that's how Hugo ended up with his dedication in the back of the book. And that was really good practice for working with Walker Books, because the first thing they did when they bought the novel was to ask me to cut another 25,000 words out. That was Denise, the editor, which is why she's in the book here. So the best way to end up in the acknowledgements is to get me to cut 25,000 words out. Eventually, the manuscript ended up like this, and Hugo ended up making this vlog with his friend Joe. As you can see, he's now far too big for bedtime stories, so I don't know what I'm going to do for the next book. I'll probably have to pay him to read it. So my New Year's resolution 2014 is to remember that I can always cut out more than I think.